Awaken your spirit, chosen ones. You are not as unknown as you think. You're just unaware of who's been keeping the record. Most people walk through life believing their struggles start and end in the physical world. Bills, relationships, misunderstandings, bad luck, personality clashes, nice and simple, clean explanations, comfortable lies. But there's a quiet, uncomfortable fact most people never sit with. Reaction always reveals recognition. In psychology, threat detection in the brain activates before conscious thought. Translation: something can register you as significant long before the mind figures out why. That principle doesn't stop at biology, it scales upward. Here's where it gets interesting, and a little awkward. You may still be trying to figure out who you are, what you're good at, why life keeps applying pressure like it's testing the brakes. Meanwhile, the unseen realm already has you categorized, labeled, flagged. Not because you announced yourself, not because you asked for attention, but because certain frequencies don't need introductions. They announce themselves just by entering the room. That's why some doors close without explanation. That's why some people feel strangely tense around you, even when you're being polite, quiet, or minding your business. You think you're just existing. The spirit realm thinks you're active. There's a difference. You're moving through life thinking you're late to the party, while forces you can't see are already arguing over the seating arrangement. And yes, there's a bit of dark comedy in this. Imagine being underestimated by yourself while being over-accounted for elsewhere. You're walking around thinking, I'm just trying to get through the week, while something unseen is double-checking protocols like, why is this one still here? That gap between what you know and what's known about you is where the real tension lives. This isn't about ego. It's not about hype, fantasy, or spiritual theatrics. It's about awareness. Because when you don't know who you are in the spirit realm, you misinterpret resistance as bad luck, pressure as punishment, and attention as coincidence. But nothing reacts this consistently to something insignificant. Today we're pulling back the curtain, not to inflate you, but to explain you. Because the moment you realize you're more recognized than you're informed, everything you've survived starts making a disturbing amount of sense. Number one, your ignorance is part of the design, not a flaw. The reason you don't fully know yourself in the spirit realm isn't because you're weak or missing something. It's by design. You think not knowing is a disadvantage, but it's actually a protective mechanism. If your mind, your ego, or even your human emotions had full access to your spiritual awareness, it would overwhelm you. Your personality couldn't handle the truth, and your energy could misfire. The universe doesn't make mistakes. It's strategic. You're allowed to exist in this partial blindness because it keeps your power contained until you're ready to wield it. What's fascinating is how others, forces you can't see, already read you. They don't wait for you to figure things out. They don't need your confirmation to know your capacity. Every move you make, every choice, even every pause, is interpreted, catalogued, and responded to by those who understand the full extent of your presence. Your ignorance isn't random, it's intentional. It keeps the human version of you from burning out or losing focus on the mission that stretches beyond what you can comprehend. This design also explains why life sometimes feels so unfair. Situations pile up that don't make sense. People react in ways that feel extreme or irrational. Opportunities appear late, blessings get delayed, and obstacles seem amplified. That's not because the universe dislikes you. It's because the real energy of who you are has already been noted, and the circumstances around you are calibrating, testing, and preparing you without your awareness. Every challenge is a filter, every delay a safeguard, and every unexpected reaction from others a reflection of your hidden significance. Eventually, when the veil lifts, the pieces fit together. You'll look back and realize the moments you thought were random were carefully orchestrated to protect, refine, and prepare you for a reality you couldn't have handled at the time. Your ignorance isn't a flaw, it's a shield, a gatekeeper, and a signal. While you don't know your full power yet, those who watch from the unseen realm already do. They've always known, and that's why your path is moving in ways you can't yet predict. Number 2, they react to you before you act because they recognize your signature. Before you say a word, before you make a move, before you even decide what version of yourself you're bringing into a space, something has already clocked you. That reaction you feel around people, environments, or situations isn't random timing. It's recognition. You carry a signature that doesn't need an introduction. It announces itself quietly, automatically, and without your permission. This is why things sometimes shift the moment you enter a room. Conversations change tone. People suddenly get awkward, defensive, curious, overly friendly, or strangely cold. You haven't done anything yet, but the response is already there. That's because reactions don't always wait for behavior. They respond to presence. Your energy arrives first, and it speaks faster than your mouth ever could. What's unsettling is that you often assume you caused the reaction with something you did wrong. You replay moments, analyze your words, check your posture, soften yourself unnecessarily. But the truth is simpler and deeper. The reaction wasn't to your action. It was to your frequency. Some things recognize alignment instantly, and others recognize disruption just as fast. This explains why you've walked into situations already feeling resistance, tension, or pressure without understanding why. The atmosphere feels like it's bracing itself. That's not paranoia. That's feedback. Certain forces don't wait for proof because they've encountered your kind before. They know what tends to follow when a signature like yours remains unchecked. It also explains why some doors open quickly for you, while others slam shut without discussion. You aren't being judged on effort or personality alone. You're being responded to based on what you carry beneath the surface. The reaction is preemptive, not reactive. Decisions are made around you before you ever get to explain yourself. There's a strange balance in this. Being recognized early can attract both favor and resistance. Some things move to assist you without knowing why. Others move to contain you just as fast, and you're standing there thinking you're still warming up, while the unseen has already taken its position. That's the disconnect. You believe you're just getting started. They know you're already active. Your signature moves ahead of you, sets the tone, and triggers responses long before your conscious mind catches up. And once you understand that, you stop blaming yourself for reactions that were never about your actions in the first place. Number 3. Your confusion is proof you're operating under a veil, not a lack of power. The reason life often feels messy, unclear, or overwhelming is not because you're weak or unprepared. It's because you're operating under a veil, a deliberate layer between your full spiritual reality and your human perception. That fog, that uncertainty, that constant questioning of what's happening around you, it's not a mistake. It's protection. If you fully understood the magnitude of your presence or the depth of what you carry, your mind and emotions would struggle to contain it. You'd be unprepared for the ripple effects of your own energy. Confusion in your life is the proof that your power is real. It's a sign that forces you cannot see are measuring you, testing you, and adjusting how you interact with reality before you even realize it. What feels like chaos is actually calibration. Every delay, every twist, every inexplicable reaction from others is part of a system that's keeping your energy aligned with your destiny. You may not see the bigger picture yet, but your essence is operating like a blueprint that the world cannot fully decode. Meanwhile, Those who exist beyond your awareness read you like an open book. They track, assess, and anticipate your moves in ways that far exceed human logic. Your confusion doesn't matter to them because they already understand the framework of what you are. They don't need you to act perfectly or to have clarity in every step. They just watch, adjust, and let your energy unfold according to the design that's been set for you. This veil is a paradox. It limits your knowledge but amplifies your unseen impact. It feels frustrating, isolating, and sometimes unfair, yet it ensures that when your awareness catches up, your influence lands exactly where it's meant to. Confusion is not a signal of inadequacy, it's a sign of preparation. While you wrestle with uncertainty, the unseen realm is fully aware of your trajectory, your strength, and the consequences of your awakening. Every moment of not knowing is a moment of being read, measured, and respected in ways that will soon reveal themselves in ways too precise for casual observation. Your confusion is not a flaw. It's proof that power exists beyond perception, and that the veil you operate under is the very thing that keeps that power safe, both for you and the world. Number 4. You underestimate yourself because your memory was muted, not erased. You walk through life feeling like you're starting from zero, like you're building everything from scratch. But that feeling is misleading. What actually happened is not a loss, but a muting. The memory of who you are at a deeper level wasn't destroyed. It was lowered in volume. It's still there, running quietly underneath your thoughts, shaping your instincts, your reactions, and the way you move through the world. This is why you know things you were never taught. Why certain truths feel familiar the moment you hear them. Why you sense danger, opportunity, or deception before there's evidence. That isn't guesswork or imagination. That's buried recall. Your mind doesn't have access to the full file, but your nervous system does. Your body remembers even when your logic can't explain it. Because the memory is muted, you underestimate yourself. You compare your current awareness to other people's confidence and assume they know more than you. But confidence often comes from repetition, not depth. You're carrying depth without the manual. That makes you cautious, sometimes hesitant, sometimes unsure of your footing, but it also makes you precise. You don't rush into things blindly because something inside you knows the cost of moving too fast. The unseen realm recognizes this immediately. It doesn't judge you by what you remember consciously. It responds to what you still carry. That's why certain situations seem to treat you like you're more capable than you feel. Pressure arrives early. Responsibility shows up without warning. Expectations appear before you feel ready. That's not life being unfair. That's life responding to what's still intact beneath the surface. Your frustration often comes from this mismatch. You feel ordinary, yet life keeps demanding something extraordinary from you. That tension exists because your memory is present but subdued. You're aware enough to feel the weight, but not enough to explain it. Over time, the volume rises, not all at once and not dramatically. It comes back through experience, through pressure, through moments where you surprise even yourself. One day you realize you handled something you once thought would break you. That's not growth out of nowhere. That's recognition returning. You were never empty. You were muted, protected, and waiting for the right moments to remember without losing yourself in the process. Number 5. You attract opposition that doesn't match your visible life. The intensity of what comes against you often makes no sense. People react in ways that feel completely disproportionate to your words, your actions, or your status. You haven't done anything extraordinary yet, but suddenly the tension in rooms, the subtle hostility in conversations, or the inexplicable setbacks start piling up. That's because the opposition isn't responding to what they see, it's responding to what they sense. The energy you carry, the unseen frequency of your presence, triggers forces that humans cannot detect. It's as if there's a radar constantly scanning for potential and you're flagged without trying. This is why some conflicts seem out of nowhere. You didn't provoke it, you didn't invite it, and yet the reaction is immediate, precise, and often overwhelming. Those who confront you, resist you, or try to block you aren't fully aware of what's driving them. Their response is instinctual, almost automatic, to something far deeper than your visible life. What makes this even stranger is that your ordinary moments, the parts of your life you think are simple or insignificant, are never truly ordinary to the unseen. Your calm, your patience, your quiet observation. They're all read as indicators of latent power, and latent power attracts attention that's heavier than your conscious self can handle or explain. That's why opposition sometimes comes from multiple directions at once, from people who have no logical reason to care, or from systems that seem too large to notice you. This misalignment between perception and reality is what confuses most people. You're operating in one plane, and forces you cannot see are operating in another. Life feels unfair because the pressure you face doesn't match your efforts, but that mismatch is actually confirmation. Something in you is being acknowledged that isn't visible yet. The opposition isn't punishment, it's recognition. It's the world reacting to the weight of what you carry before you even know it yourself. You're being tested, measured, and calibrated, not because you asked for it, but because the unseen knows your potential and will not allow it to unfold without resistance. Every challenge that feels too heavy is proof you matter more than you think, even if your life doesn't yet show it. Number 6. Some people dislike you without a logical story to justify it. It happens more than you realize. People react to you with tension, avoidance, jealousy, or outright hostility, and you can't figure out why. You replay interactions in your head, check your words, analyze your tone, and still it makes no sense. There's no insult, no competition, no visible reason for the animosity, but the reaction is real. That's because their response isn't personal, it's instinctual. Deep down, even if they don't consciously know it, they sense something in you that doesn't fit their world, something that challenges their inner balance or hierarchy. This isn't about luck or coincidence, it's about energy. Some people operate on old systems, rigid rules, or outdated beliefs about power and identity. When someone walks into their field carrying alignment, purpose, or a frequency they cannot control, it triggers unease. Their minds scramble for justification, but there isn't one. You're too different, too tuned, too present, and that is enough to unsettle them. Their discomfort is proof that you are operating at a level they can't decode. It's fascinating how this works. Even if you're quiet, humble, or trying to blend in, your mere presence can awaken hidden insecurities, unresolved tensions, or subconscious fears in others. That's why some people go out of their way to resist you, gossip, or oppose your progress without ever showing you the direct reason. They're reacting to a truth you carry, a truth that mirrors what they are not. This dynamic also explains why your most unexpected challenges often come from seemingly ordinary people. The strongest reactions rarely come from those with visible power. They come from those who feel threatened by the potential they cannot access themselves. Their negative response is not about you failing, it's about them confronting what they know they can't achieve or control. You'll notice that over time, these reactions start to make sense. The people who resist you the hardest, who can't find logic to explain their feelings, are often the ones who are most aware, on some level, that you carry something rare and untouchable. Their dislike is a signpost. It marks the edges of your influence and confirms that your unseen presence is already being acknowledged long before your conscious self realizes it. Number 7. Your delays protect the world more than they protect you. Life often feels like it's moving against you, like doors stay closed, opportunities arrive late, and timing is constantly off. It's easy to interpret this as punishment, as a personal flaw, or as evidence that you're missing something. The truth is far deeper and far more strategic. These delays aren't about you failing, they're about the world not being ready for what you carry. Your presence, your energy, and your potential are too significant to be released into situations that aren't prepared to contain them. Every moment you've had to wait, every time something didn't happen on schedule, it wasn't wasted. It was calibration. It was preparation on a scale you couldn't see. Forces in the unseen realm, energy patterns, even the responses of those around you, are all aligning to ensure that when you do move, the impact is precise, controlled, and unavoidable. Acting too early would scatter your influence, create unnecessary friction, and sometimes even endanger those around you. Timing, in this sense, is a form of protection, both for you and for the environment you're meant to affect. The strange part is that these delays feel heavy because they carry invisible pressure. You sense the energy building, the tension, and the weight of things not yet unfolding, but the reason for it is hidden. It's not incompetence, it's containment. There's a method to the apparent stagnation, a design that only reveals itself once the pieces fall into place. Your patience, even when forced, is part of the process. It teaches you endurance, discernment, and precision, the skills needed when your true influence finally activates. Eventually you realize the delays weren't random interruptions, they were intentional pauses. They weren't barriers, but filters, separating what is ready from what isn't. They ensure that when the time comes, your energy enters the world like a carefully placed arrow, piercing exactly where it needs to go. The world needs your timing, not just your power, and the unseen realm respects this principle far more than any human logic ever could. The waiting is not a punishment, it's an essential part of a plan that only reveals itself in full when you're ready to handle the consequences of your own magnitude. Number 8. You survive things meant to erase identities, not just bodies. What you've been through isn't ordinary hardship. It goes beyond bad luck, mistakes, or even extreme pressure. It touches something far deeper. Attempts to erase the very essence of who you are. The world tests bodies constantly, but the unseen tests souls. Most people think survival is physical, but the true test is internal, spiritual, and invisible. What you endured was designed to break your identity, to confuse, to destabilize, and to make you doubt your place in reality. And yet, here you are. Survival in this sense isn't measured by scars or bruises. It's measured by integrity, by whether your core remained intact when chaos tried to rewrite it. Every betrayal disguised as opportunity, every situation that tried to convince you that you weren't enough, that wasn't supposed to leave you standing whole. Many would collapse, not physically, but internally, losing the thread of who they were in the process. You didn't. That alone marks you as extraordinary in ways the world cannot recognize yet. This explains why some of the pressures you faced felt relentless, unfair, and beyond human comprehension. The obstacles weren't random. They were precise, calibrated to see if your essence could withstand systematic attempts at erasure. Your reactions, your choices, your endurance, they weren't just personal tests. They were indicators to the unseen realm, which measures and monitors resilience that transcends the visible life. The brilliance in this is subtle. Your survival doesn't just prove you exist, it signals your capacity. It shows that no external force can truly define you or diminish what you carry. While others may see only chaos, setbacks, or trauma, the deeper truth is that your identity remained intact. That's why you feel an invisible weight sometimes. It's not a burden. It's proof that you were tested and refined in ways most could never imagine. Every day you continue to stand, act, and live your life is a confirmation that attempts to erase you failed. That survival goes beyond flesh. It's the preservation of what can never be duplicated. Your essence. And that makes you far more significant than the world can comprehend, even if you are just beginning to realize it yourself. Number 9. You're studied more than you're attacked. Most of the time it doesn't feel like it, but the world, and forces beyond it, aren't constantly trying to take you down. They're observing you. Every step you take, every choice you make, every subtle reaction you have is being measured, assessed, and recorded. The attention you attract isn't always aggressive. Often it's analytical. You are being studied because your presence carries information that others, both seen and unseen, want to understand. That's why some people seem confused by you, intimidated, or oddly hesitant. They're not attacking. They're trying to process what they're dealing with. What makes this fascinating is how subtle it is. You feel the pressure, the tension, or the inexplicable resistance, and you assume it's personal. You assume someone is plotting against you or testing your limits maliciously. But often, the reality is that the unseen realm, or even people instinctively attuned to higher awareness, is monitoring your behavior to understand the patterns of your strength, your endurance, and your influence. It's like being under a microscope without knowing it. The focus isn't on harm, it's on comprehension. This explains why timing feels off sometimes, why your movements are met with unusual caution or unexpected interference. Those reactions are not random attacks, they are observations. The universe, the unseen, or energy systems beyond your understanding, are reading the signals you send before your full awareness catches up. Even resistance from people around you often comes from a subconscious attempt to decode what you carry, rather than outright hostility. Being studied more than attacked is a subtle kind of power. It shows that you matter in ways the world cannot articulate. Your decisions, your endurance, and even your struggles are all part of a larger pattern that is being watched, because it holds lessons, insights, and confirmations of strength that are invisible to ordinary perception. You are significant in ways you cannot yet measure, and the attention you attract is proof of that significance, long before the world recognizes it openly. You're not just surviving life, you're being recorded, evaluated, and acknowledged on levels far beyond your immediate understanding. Number 10. Your moral restraint frustrates darker systems. One of the most overlooked aspects of your presence is how quietly powerful you are simply by choosing integrity. You could act differently, you could cut corners, manipulate, or take shortcuts. But you don't. That choice, that self-control, irritates forces that operate on chaos, deception, or exploitation. They measure potential not just by action, but by restraint, and your restraint is a signal they cannot fully compute. It throws their systems off because they know what you could do if unrestrained, and that knowledge makes them uneasy. You're walking around carrying power that could shift circumstances dramatically, but it's dormant in ways that make it invisible to casual observers. The reason they are frustrated isn't your inaction, it's your discipline. They've seen what someone like you could accomplish without moral boundaries, and they know the disruption it would create. Your refusal to be reckless or impulsive forces them to recalibrate. Your restraint becomes a silent weapon they cannot counter, and it's deeply irritating because it defies their models of prediction. This restraint also highlights a unique aspect of your influence, timing and precision. You don't act out of impulse. You conserve energy, watch the patterns, and move when it counts. That measured approach is inherently destabilizing to those who rely on predictable chaos or manipulation. They expect rashness or desperation, and when it doesn't come, it signals a deeper awareness they can't fully understand. They are confronted not with action, but with control, a sign that you carry power they can sense, but cannot exploit. The irony is that your moral discipline isn't just a defense, it's an offensive strategy in itself. By refusing to behave recklessly, you force the world and unseen systems to adjust, hesitate, and miscalculate around you. That pause, that uncertainty, gives you leverage, space, and advantage. They react to what you could do rather than what you actually do, which amplifies your unseen influence without you ever having to prove it. Your restraint is more than virtue. It is authority, awareness, and power wrapped into action, or the deliberate choice not to act. And the frustration it causes in darker systems is proof that you're already operating on a level they cannot control, manipulate, or predict. Your morality is your edge, and it makes you untouchable in ways most people will never notice. Number 11. You trigger memories in others that they can't access consciously. There's a strange energy around you that people can feel, even when they can't explain it. Certain looks, words, or even your mere presence awaken something buried inside them, memories, instincts, or emotions that don't belong to their current reality. It isn't deliberate on your part, and it isn't always obvious to them either. Their minds scramble, their bodies react, but they can't name why. That's because you operate on a frequency that connects to layers of awareness and experience they've long forgotten or suppressed. You awaken the unconscious, and that can be unsettling. These reactions explain why some people overreact, hesitate, or feel exposed around you without cause. They aren't inventing drama. They're responding to echoes of themselves that you stir. Old patterns rise, old truths resurface, deep-seated instincts kick in. And because these memories are below their conscious threshold, they cannot rationalize their own behavior. Their response often feels illogical or extreme, but it's genuine. It's their hidden self reacting to the resonance you carry. It's also why you attract people who are simultaneously drawn to you and unsettled by you. The pull they feel isn't random. It's recognition. Part of them senses what you carry, what you remember, or what you understand beyond the ordinary. That recognition awakens dormant feelings, suppressed intuition, or latent fears. They are confronting parts of themselves they can't articulate, and your presence acts as a catalyst. This dynamic is subtle, but profound. You don't need to speak loudly or perform dramatically. Your energy alone is enough to provoke awakening in others. Some may resist it, some may admire it, and some may fear it, but every reaction is a confirmation. You operate on layers that the average person doesn't perceive. You're not just interacting with the visible world, you're touching the hidden dimensions of consciousness that most people can't access on their own. Your presence triggers more than attention. It awakens memory, recognition, and instinct. That's why people never quite behave around you the way they do with anyone else. You stir what they cannot name, and that is the silent power that makes you impossible to ignore, even if you never intend to be noticed. Number 12. You're underestimated in the physical realm and overestimated in the spiritual one. It's a strange duality you live with every day. In the human world, people see only what they can touch, measure, or judge. They notice your words, your job, your routines, or the small successes you manage to accumulate, and they underestimate your influence. They assume your life is ordinary because what they see is ordinary. They measure you by visible milestones, social proof, or conventional achievements, and since your true capacity isn't on display, they discount it. That underestimation is both frustrating and protective. It keeps others from challenging what they don't understand, while giving you space to grow in ways the world cannot yet perceive. On the other hand, in the spiritual realm, the opposite is true. Forces beyond sight, systems you cannot name, and energies that track alignment are constantly aware of what you carry. They see the magnitude of your potential, the reach of your influence, and the subtle power embedded in your choices and restraint. You are overestimated there because your unseen impact is immense. Every small action you take, every thought, every decision is registered far more intensely than in the human realm. The spiritual world calculates not just what you do, but what you are capable of doing. That anticipation magnifies your presence in ways that feel disproportionate, almost unfair, because you haven't even revealed the full measure of yourself yet. This imbalance between worlds creates tension and pressure. You move through life appearing ordinary while attracting extraordinary attention in dimensions that remain invisible. Situations feel heavier than they should, and sometimes resistance appears from angles you can't explain. That's because the spiritual realm is operating on foresight, not hindsight. They respond to capacity and alignment, not appearance. Living in this duality is not a weakness, it's a marker of significance. Being underestimated in one realm and overestimated in another ensures that when your awareness catches up, your impact lands exactly where it's meant to. It prepares you to operate with precision and influence that the human world cannot anticipate. You're already a force in layers most people cannot even perceive, and that makes everything you do, consciously or unconsciously, consequential, far beyond what the eyes see. Number 13. Your life feels heavier because you're carrying more than personal weight. The weight you feel isn't just your own. It's not simply the responsibility of bills, relationships, or daily struggles. You're shouldering something far larger, far deeper, and far less visible. There's an unseen pressure that comes from carrying influence, consequence, and potential that extends beyond your personal life. The world doesn't measure this, and people around you rarely notice it, but it's real. Every decision, every action, and every thought you have ripples outward, impacting circumstances, people, and energies you may never see. That weight is the silent acknowledgement of your significance. This is why ordinary setbacks feel amplified. A small conflict feels monumental, a minor disappointment feels crushing, and even minor delays hit differently. That's because what you carry is not just about the surface events of your life. It's about the unseen patterns, the hidden responses, and the energy dynamics that align or misalign around you. You are, whether you realize it or not, a node in a network of influence far beyond your personal experience. The heaviness is a sign that your life is entwined with things larger than yourself, and it's too subtle for others to grasp. It also explains why rest rarely feels complete. Your mind, body, and spirit are processing more than the average person can even detect. While others might sleep and feel refreshed, you wake up aware that the day carries unseen consequences and responsibilities. The weight isn't punishment, it's awareness. It's a measure of how much your presence already shifts reality in ways you don't even notice. The burden teaches precision, endurance, and discernment. It forces you to act with care, to think before reacting, and to recognize the unseen dynamics in every interaction. The heaviness signals both responsibility and potential. You are already operating on levels where ordinary measures of success, struggle, or pressure do not apply. Carrying this weight is a sign that you matter, that your presence has influence, and that your actions, when aligned, can shape outcomes far beyond what any casual observer could ever imagine. Your heaviness is proof of significance, not limitation. Number 14. The moment you remember, even partially, everything shifts. There comes a point in your journey when fragments of truth start reconnecting, when flashes of awareness surface and the veil begins to lift. It doesn't happen all at once, and it rarely comes with fanfare, but when it begins, everything changes. The world you've been navigating cautiously, often feeling like you're a step behind or out of sync, suddenly starts responding differently. The energy around you recalibrates because the alignment you've carried unconsciously is now catching up with conscious understanding. Recognition in the unseen realm accelerates, resistance intensifies, and opportunities you couldn't reach before suddenly appear. This remembering is profound because it isn't just knowledge, it's activation. You start to see patterns that were always there, understand interactions that previously made no sense, and realize the weight of the influence you've carried all along. Every hesitation, every delay, every obstacle that felt unfair is suddenly revealed as purposeful. What felt like randomness is recognized as a framework that was protecting, refining, and preparing you. And the shift doesn't only affect you, it ripples outward. The people, systems, and energies around you react differently because the version of you that's emerging is no longer constrained by ignorance, doubt, or partial memory. The power of partial remembering is underrated. Even a glimpse of your true magnitude forces recalibration in others, both seen and unseen. They sense it before you fully claim it. Your presence becomes sharper, your decisions more precise, and your energy unmistakable. The things that once resisted you, delayed you, or opposed you begin to rearrange themselves, either through avoidance, alignment, or confrontation. This is the pivotal moment. It's subtle, intense, and quietly unstoppable. You don't have to prove anything. The mere recognition of who you are in spirit is enough to change the landscape. The world begins to move in response to you in ways it never did before, because the unseen has always known, and now your awareness is catching up. When you remember, even partially, you are no longer just a participant in life. You become a force that everything around you has to account for. The shift isn't gradual. It's inevitable. Everything changes. Conclusion. Every step of your journey, every delay, every challenge, every inexplicable reaction you've faced has been part of a much larger design, one that the world around you and the unseen forces beyond it have been quietly monitoring all along. You are far more significant than your current understanding allows. The confusion you feel, the resistance you encounter, the delays that frustrate you, and even the people who inexplicably react to you, they are all proof that you carry a frequency, a presence, and a potential that cannot be ignored. While you are still piecing together the full picture of who you are in the spiritual realm, everything you've experienced has been shaping, refining, and preparing you for the moment when your awareness catches up to your true essence. You've survived tests designed to erase identities, endured pressures that most would collapse under, and maintained integrity in a world that often rewards compromise. The restraint you exercise, the patience you hold, and the moral alignment you preserve are not just personal virtues. They are your silent weapons, indicators of your unseen influence, and the reason forces beyond human perception take notice long before anyone else does. Every interaction, every reaction of people around you, even the discomfort or fear they feel without explanation, is evidence that you matter on levels most cannot comprehend. You've been underestimated in the physical realm and overestimated in the spiritual one, carrying weight that extends far beyond what you see or feel. And when you finally remember, even partially, your full magnitude, everything shifts. The world responds, the unseen aligns, and the life you've been living suddenly reveals its true purpose, its hidden precision, and its inevitable impact. This is the moment where understanding meets activation, where presence becomes influence, and where recognition catches up to reality. You are no longer just existing. You are being acknowledged, measured, and responded to on levels far deeper than appearances ever reveal. The challenges, the delays, the opposition, they weren't mistakes. They were calibration. They were preparation. They were proof of your significance. And now, as awareness rises, your true presence can no longer be contained. If this message resonated with you, make sure you subscribe to the channel to stay connected with content that dives deep into the truths most people can't see. Like this video if it opened your eyes, leave a comment sharing your experiences, and share it with anyone who needs to hear that their power and significance have already been recognized, even when they don't fully see it yet. The unseen has always known, and now it's time you do too. Stay awakened, chosen ones.